buying one, and I performed at night with it at my concert, and it was actually really fun. But I used slightly the different tuning that you've got, so that I could play West African music. And the piece that I played was called Poi, which is a very old piece from the Manding Empire, and it is a piece that my friend Lucy Durand, who's one of the really world experts on the region of West Africa's music and culture, her theory is that Poi is the first ever blues piece, and the story of Poi is that it was a piece that was played to vanquished warriors. So if you won the battle, you would play Poi to the losers, while they decided whether they wanted to enter a life of slavery or have their heads removed. So this was the last piece that many people heard before they traveled to the afterlife, or before they were traveled to North America, perhaps. So that's her theory, and the version that I know is by Baseku Kuyate, who's a wonderful Ngoni player, who is supposed to be playing tonight after me at the Somerville Theatre, but didn't get a visa. He should have been born a few hundred years ago, because then he wouldn't have needed a visa.
Is he the same guy on the movie, Mali Blues?
I think he is in Mali Blues. Yes. Yeah. And his father is an incredible player and grandfather, and it's wonderful to hear the different versions of Poi. I went back to his grandfather's version, and it's unrecognizable, completely different. And this is in one generation where there is recording. So when you say that Poi was the first blues piece, we of course have no idea what Poi meant a few hundred years ago. So it's a nice story, but probably not connected to this particular piece. But it's the generic name for a particular accompaniment, and it's quite a nice place to start. So let's play Poi, and it's great for ukulele because you don't need the bass strings. Do you want?
Yeah, I told her.
You told her the tuning?
Yeah.
Okay, of course. Sorry, yeah, and then you put it down to beat. Yeah. So this tuning came about. I was in about 2010. I was playing a lot of vihuela tablatures. The vihuela was the 6-course guitar in Spain, and many tablatures were made of this music. Very beautiful tablatures, and they were disseminated all around Europe, and the vihuela was the most popular string instrument at the time, especially because the other option would have been the lute, but the lute with its kind of oval shape was considered kind of unchristian, because it was a Moorish shaped instrument. So the vihuela was far more respectable instrument to play, but unfortunately the Spanish squandered their wealth and became a much lower empire, and the French came up, and so the lute became much more popular, and the vihuela literally disappeared off the face of the earth, and they don't really even know what it looked like, what size it was. There are a few pictures in different things, but they all conflict, and there's 3 or 4 of them lying around which were converted into guitars, which only had 4 courses of strings. And so the only thing we know about the vihuela is these 7 composers whose tablatures survived, and you can play them very nicely on guitar. And the tuning for that is a normal guitar tuning with the string tuned to F sharp, which was the Renaissance tuning also for the lute as well. And it's somehow a very beautiful tuning, and I use it as a basis for most of the things I do. I very rarely use standard tuning. You have your third in the middle of the guitar, which is somehow very nice for a lot of things. So that's where our special ukulele African guitar tuning came from. So are you all familiar with PIMs and all that? In the right hand? So we're going to do PIM on the top 3 strings, like this. Is it possible for your varnish to crack from cold? Yeah. Huh? I think it's happened. My God. It's amazing. It's like totally splintered. I had it in the boot. I had it in the trunk of the car. Maybe in the cold. Huh?
It's been very cold.
Shit. It's calmer. left hand. So you're feeling it almost like this is the button you're pressing, because that'll synchronize the left and the right hand. And you make it very short and it comes off straight away. It's like this. So you're hitting at the same time as you're plucking. And the way to do that is just to imagine the sounds coming here. Is a little displaced rhythm. The notes are. So you got 0, which is your third string, with your thumb. So you're using 3 fingers and always on those 3 strings. So you're going to go 0, 2, perfect, and then 0, and 4 on your high string. 4th fret. That's it. Perfect. Yeah. So we have. basic accompaniment of koi, and if you're ever involved in the beheadings, this is what you play. Don't want to put them together yet, just play the first one and give a break, and play the first one and give a break, and keep that going for a while. So you'll play. And if you're ready to do the second one, the best thing to do if you're learning something new is always to give a break. So you just play the one thing, give a break so that you're totally comfortable. You never want to be in that feeling where you've got a speed wobble, because the neurons don't fire well when they're speeding. 3, 4. Great, keep going. Oh, sorry, yeah. So the second one, what's cool about it is that G doesn't come back on the beat. You know, once you want to hear this, but it doesn't. It goes. Are you all familiar with tablature? So this is a little adaptation of the Renaissance tablature that they used for the ukulele music. So you have a tuning in the beginning. This tuning tells you on the guitar that you'll have an F sharp on the 3rd string and a D on the bass string. Otherwise it's standard. And the capo is on the 6th in this case, just to be the same as the ngoni, but it can be anywhere. And then you've got your rhythm there. So that's the first one we did was the first 6. Bum, bum, bim, bum, bum, bum. And the second one we did was the last. Bum, bum, bum. Make sense? Does anyone have any questions? Complaints? All clear? Like the bar, you said, what are we doing? What about? So I was just showing you that blank note. So we have.
Yeah, so is it like a voice note?
It'll just be a rest. Yeah. So when I'm notating these, I don't notate the rests ever. I always just give it an empty note, because often the 4, for example, will be ringing over. In classical guitar music, you put two chords and you tie them, and it just becomes unnecessarily complicated. Whereas this is not written over because it's shortened at the top. So in the Renaissance music, the length of how long you held things with the left hand was always left to the individual. You never had that kind of left hand rhythm. It was always the plucking rhythm. Okay, so we're ready for a variation. So now we can do. Can we see better? Yeah. So we're standing just on the first line. So we'll need some people to keep the original accompaniment. And some people to play the variation. So let's look at the variation. The variation only comes in the second half, and you got this. Yeah. This is where you start to hear the blues side of things. So let's go very slowly, just to be clear. So let's do the first figure, which is. So I'll do and you do back. So we'll make like a call and response. So here we go. And now you can go like this. And what I'm doing is I'm releasing the fourth finger at the same time as I'm playing the high string, if you want to be pedantic about it, so that you go and get short ones. And those are just two options. So you've always got these little nuances that you can add. Okay, starting again. 3, 4, me first. Alright, now the second figure you have is. Sounds really great on ukulele. So what this is, if you leave the right hand out of it for now, and you just put down a second finger on the first finger on the second fret, and just pluck the string. So let's get a rhythm going. And you can actually do a rest stroke, which means it's going to land on the string below. So it's really crossed. Let's do that nice and gently. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now add you actually put it down and then off. Yeah, now let's add this finger. So we'll have. And. Then we do the index finger. And two of them. So that's the so-called hammer off or legato. What it really is a plucking with the left hand. And if you put lots together, you can do this kind of. So it becomes very useful, but it just do one at a time. It works nicely on ukulele. Yeah. And what's the last one? The last one we just have this little ornament of the 3. So the 3 would be with the second finger. Yeah, and then we go. I'm just imitating the goli, which is a fretless instrument. So they would be just moving on it, you know. So I'm just adding this little. All right, so let's do them one at a time. First one. to that. So we just got this going.
How fast is it supposed to be?
Huh?
How fast is it supposed to be?
Depends how exhilarated you're feeling after winning the battle, really. It's actually quite, I've heard it played quite slow, but I don't really, I change the speed with these things all the time. It depends how you're feeling. Let's look at the third line. It's a really nice variation. So really what this piece is exactly that first riff that I showed you, and then loads and loads of different improvs and variations. And then you just go backwards and forwards between them. I'll show you how. So third line, first bar, we have again, same. And now the variation of the second half is, so let's do just the third figure, which is this one. Goes like this. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. B first. Use your thumb for the bass, and then alternating I and M's for this. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a good time to show you a little bit about the right hand plucking. In the sort of earlier days of classical guitar, you had two different types of stroke. You had the rest stroke, the free stroke, which was this kind of more for when you were playing arpeggios, and then you had the rest stroke, which was if you wanted to bring the melody out. They were very kind of separate, and I learned a wonderful way of combining them from a duo called the Sut Brothers, who have an interesting technique. What they do is when they're playing single lines, which they're doing a lot because they're a duo, is that the thumb sits just behind. So if in the case of this piece, our thumb is sitting on the G string because we've just played it, and the plucking happens like that. So you just rest your thumb very gently, it's touching. Yeah? Just touching, not playing. And then you play with an index in the middle on the next string, and you'll just brush gently the string. And it does a few things. It makes the distance that the finger has to travel to pluck again smaller, because that the score?
Yeah.
Yeah? Not just some crazy person shouting names and numbers at you. So this variation, using that little technique now, would look like this. See, the thumb goes back. And then, and I'm not doing the ornament, so just go to 3. Back to playing the opening with the full bar like this. Which will be giving us an accompaniment. Or you can play the whole of the third line, first bar. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. now you want to change is or experiment with is this the accompaniments of these pieces is called kumbengo. It's which translates as the legs of the piece. So the legs of the piece are what makes it walk. So when a piece is walking, it's just walking. So you already bring that down now. So that's the kind of volume level you use if you're just looking out the window and playing. I use it a lot when I'm driving. I find ukulele is a very nice thing to do while you're driving. And then when your accompaniment comes in, so you have that difference. So the accompaniment is when you say, alright, actually this, and then you go back. So that you experiment with those dynamics. Let's do it a little bit more like that, and then we'll move on to another piece. Ready? One, nice ukulele. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gets lost, and I'm very interested in this idea of what's the difference between someone who learns by ear and someone who learns by sight. And one of the things is that everything is the same, emphasis-wise. In a notated piece, you have all of it. So when you listen to someone when they're almost mumbling something, it's very difficult to notate that because in notation every note is there. So the music becomes very articulated and kind of uniform. And you hear there's a lot of mumbling happening in Irish folk music or Malian music. There's this kind of and you kind of have to really listen to see, okay, those are the individual notes, and then this foreground, background. It's not just I'm playing soft here, then loud here. It's certain ideas of background and certain ideas of foreground. So in that first, it's gone. In that first riff, the foreground is the fourth fret, and everything else is background. So it becomes this polyrhythmic thing just by foregrounding, backgrounding. Okay, I want to try now an experiment to see if we can make a duet version of Kyra, which is a really beautiful piece. It's going to use the bass strings of the guitar, so we're going to have to see if the ukuleles can play the melody. Where's screensaver? It's on system preferences. Let's start there. Okay, the ukulele is going to have a different part, but you can experiment with it. We have almost all the strings except that lower one. So this is just the very basic, just to get you in the pattern of it. It sounds like this.
cafe
top three
orchestra.
strings. So your highest string, which is this one, is the top. And then, yeah, but so that's why we're gonna have to. I'll put your melody down once they've got their thing. I can't show two at the same time. Just a note about that. You see the little line that I've put on the top of the Octaves? So I made that up because in Malian music you often have what would be notated as a, now I use crotchet and quavers, but it's a quarter note and an eighth note with a triplet. So it's da 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 da. So I've got it written down somewhere. Does that make sense? Quarter note and an eighth note, and sometimes it alternates between that one, which is 2 eighth notes, da, 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 and then that, and it looks really messy because the quarter note and the eighth note looks like something completely different. So I wanted to show a way of how you could swing, because that's essentially what it is, how you could swing that sometimes. So I put the line there to show that that's actually, instead of equal, it's 2 plus 1. Ba, 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 ba. So in a piece you could have like, that's the straight note. Or, so the ukulele part that we were doing straight is, but we could do it, and the same with this. The bim bam bim ba bum bim ba bum. The rhythm changes a bit. Make sense? Okay, let's. Are we all comfortable with the next part? All good? Here we go. Open up a little bit. Even outside. Okay, so if you're on the ukulele, just chill a bit, or you can practice that part which we had was this. So it's these notes. I'll play one at a time. And then back. And then 3. 3 on the third string. Yes. Yeah, and 2. Yes. Once again. Second fret. Yes. And then 0, 3, 2. Okay, now I'm going to do these ones. And then one more time. And put them together, we have. And then we did it slightly long in the beginning. Yes. And then if you swing it, yeah, so that's the basic idea. So now the accompaniment is changed again. So we're just adding syncopations all the time. So now we've got 1. Okay. So let's start again. See if I can go a bit higher. So I'm going to start actually, you see where that little, what's it called is, sign? I'm going to start at the second part because that's on the beat then. So let's just have the second bar, which is, and the ukulele can just chill. 1, 2, 3, 4. See that? half, which is the first part, is 1.
the bass line, so we can put either play what you were playing before on guitar, or we add a little bit more harmony to it. So it'll be sound like this. I'm starting on the second line, second bar. Alright, so let's start with the first note, which is the first note of the second bar. From the last beat of the second line. And you can play it just alone without that. So, and. Makes sense? Yes. And the ukuleles can play this too. 5 is the string. Yeah, 5 is the string. Yeah. So who's still feeling, one second, who's still feeling disorientated with the tablature? Huh?
I mean,
It makes no sense.
Never use it.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Okay, let's clarify that because it's really a 5. It's 1 second. 1 second. It's really a 5-second brain. Stop playing. It's just a 5-second brain shift that you have to make, and then it'll become just 1 second. Silence. Okay. Let's just find some blank tablature paper. Where was it? All right. I think just make do what we have, which is that. Okay. So that is the 6 strings of the guitar, right? And then we need a pointer. Sorry. It's very disrespectful. Let's put it quite high. So that's your high string, Claire. Yeah, and then, okay, now slowly, because we're training the 3-year-old brain, so you have to be very gentle and nice to it. Otherwise, it's going to throw everything at you. There. It's all the rage in Japan. And then if you're in guitar, this is your bass string. Okay. So do you feel now your brain is like going? Huh? Makes sense, right? So now, all we're doing is we're placing a number. So 2 would be 2nd fret on that top string. Yeah. So now I'm going to just do 2s. I normally would have a little thing that I move around, but I don't have it with me. Now I'm going to take a 2 and put it there. And a 2 and put it there. And a 2 there. And a 2 there. Now let's put a 3 there. And put it there. Put a 1 there. Are you all seeing the creative potential of shadow conducting? It's going to be thousands of people in one small going. It's going to be big. Okay, are we good? Yeah. So let's see if that makes more sense now. Go very slowly from the beginning. So just ignore the first line. I don't know why it's there. Oh, it's there. Okay, you don't actually have to ignore the first line. That's if you don't want to play the octaves. So maybe do the first line. Together with the rhythm. So the rhythm is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Ba dee da dee ba din da da dee ba ba dee ba dee ba dee ba ba dee ba ba dee ba dee ba dee. on guitar, which was the accompaniment, and you go, and then you let the ukuleles play the red line. You can almost not see that it's red on this projector, but it is, from there to there. Or you can play, the guitarist can actually include the melody now. So you'll play it from the beginning all the way to the end, those two lines. The reason that the upbeat is starting it is because for about a week I succumbed to peer pressure, which won't happen again. But there's a lot of debate around, where's the one in Mali music, and the thing is, in Mali music nobody's counting, so there is no one. So as soon as you have to write it down, then where do you start? And so I always notated it coming from there, because that was like where it sits nicely. So that would have been the first bar, and that's kind of where we've been starting. But my friend Lucy is adamant that the beginning has to be there, and so I changed the score to suit her, because also she gives me a place to stay when I'm in London. So I have to be compliant. But it is a bit more awkward, perhaps. I don't know, how do you feel about it? You can be honest, you've probably got friends in London already. So from guitar, we'll have 1. Bum bim bum 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 bim bum bum bim bum bim bum 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 bum. That's going to sound like this. Let me play you Kyra, just so you've got an idea of the piece. So it goes something like this. I actually play it down here. Cycle, and then you'll okay, so we're ready? Want to try? So what you've got is, starting at the 1, as we're supposed to, 1. Yeah, just to clarify, I'm gonna share this whole Trello board with you. You can just put your email into the actual board itself, and it'll invite you to Trello, which is a list app, and it'll invite you to this piece, which is Kyra, and all the parts are there. And each of these have a recording attached, so you can hear it and everything. So don't have any memory anxiety now. You don't have to remember anything. You can just enjoy the snow. Okay, should we try it in sync? Are we ready for that? Yeah? Okay, starting far left, top. 3, 4, 1. That was the first one twice. But let's go. Are we only doing should we just do the first one to get that?
Yeah.
Good plan.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. 3, 4, 1. And again. accompaniment foreground, background. The red is foreground and the black, which you can't see the difference, yeah? But
where's the red?
the red is the melody.
Oh, okay.
So this is all red. Always. It's just not so clear in this light. Alright? So let's do it one more time with very relaxed background accompaniment, and when the red comes, that's the melody. And let's make a variation. You've been swinging the melody. 1 second. Bum ba bum ba bum ba ba. Now you can also play it straight. Da 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 da. Dum ba bum bum ba 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 bum. Okay? Last time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Ba bing bum. Da 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 da. Not clear? It's pretty simple, right? Yeah?
Cool.
It is pretty simple. I'm having trouble because I'm not used to reading that much. I'm used to more working my ear
Yeah.
and just like getting the chords. So, I mean, it's only two strings. But
Yeah.
I need to relegate myself to just the melody and not try and do like the 5-3-2-0.
Yes. Well, you wouldn't.
It
You
breaks my brain.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, on the the uke you would probably. Oh, yeah, I suppose you kind of can. On this one you can, yeah, because you've got all 4 strings. Actually.
That's what I was trying to do. And I was
Yeah. It can work. Yeah, with all 4 to be